The speakers who have spoken so far, there's been some recurrent themes. So one of those recurrent themes is how normalised violence is in Northern Ireland. 20 years post the Good Friday Agreement, we still see that violence is still a pretty big part of community and a really big part particularly of young men's lives.
I think one of the most important things for me today is having a real good variety of different professionals from other sectors and agencies within the room.
What has come across really strongly today is that behind so much of what we see and hear around violence in Northern Ireland, particularly around paramilitary violence, is the fact that there are people at the heart of all of that. So the victims of that violence and the people who suffer the harm are people, they're individuals. And if we want to deal with the harm and if we want to prevent that harm, we need to treat them as individuals. But actually the people carrying out the violence are people as well. They're not faceless, they're not distant people, they're in our community. And actually they choose to carry out this violence and they choose to abuse their communities. And that strikes me as a space that we need to get into around conversations about how we change those attitudes.
But I also think that just the stories, getting them in front of just how real this is and how this is actually a crisis which is hidden for many people because they just don't see the young people. So the stories that were demonstrated actually in a play today were brilliant. I think we do have to have better policing at community level. I think we have to have a culture which is more restorative and less violent. I think we have to be tackling those things. I think we have to have ways for people to get out of the problems they get into, like around drugs. I think there needs to be family support sometimes for people, much earlier up the pipe. But all of those are from different agencies and from different people, and unless everybody's all brought together in the same room and talking about this as a problem, then people walk away and make it somebody else's responsibility. So that is important.
The most inspiring thing about the last couple of days has been the power of relationships, whether that's the power of the relationship between a youth worker and a young kid, or the relationship between the police and communities. It's really that emphasis on we'll only get this right, it'll only work if we get the relationships right. And often that requires things like trust, respect, understanding, but also importantly giving people a voice, making sure that voice is heard, especially when they feel powerless.
And I've been invited to come to these 2 days. I found it absolutely inspirational. I think there's got to be some success in the fact that you've managed to get 2 days of wonderful, great, passionate people together from all sectors, or most sectors, not all of them, but in a room with a really good packed agenda, some great speakers, and the passion that's in that room is going to be transferring back into your communities. The answer's in the communities. You've got some great, solid communities. You've got some difficult communities because it's such a complex issue. But you've got the answers there.
If there was one outcome from these past 2 days that I would like to see, it's about simplifying the objective. I think we're trying to do too much over too wide a space, and I think we have to be clear about what we're trying to achieve. I think we need to achieve that from every government department, communities together, and I think we can achieve a lot more. At the moment, I have lots of targets to achieve. The Education Authority have lots of targets to achieve, and I was talking to someone recently who works in an authority in England where they have turned the curve and where they have changed the statistics for young people within their area. And they told me the way that they did that was stop doing 428 targets and focusing on 3. So I think for me, it has to be a lot less, focused on more, so that we get traction and we can make progress.